AI Z-depth can be applied as a normal effect or as a compositor. In this tutorial, I'll be dealing with it as a compositor. When a text event is composited with a video or image event, the text will always appear superimposed on top of the video or image event. This is obviously because we are working in a two-dimensional environment, so it's impossible to push the text into the video or image. The introduction of the AI Z-depth effect in Vegas Pro allows the text event and image event to be composited in such a way that the text can be made to appear behind an object in the image event. Before looking at the Z-depth interface, I'll describe how the tool is implemented as a compositor because it's not obvious. The text event is placed on an upper track and the image or video event placed underneath it. The Z-depth effect has to be applied as a compositor on the track with the text event. If the compositing mode icon isn't showing on the track header, click the hamburger menu icon. Then select Edit Visible Button Set. Now click the Compositing Mode checkbox. Click the Compositing Mode icon on the text track header. This will open up a list of compositing modes. Select Custom. This opens the plugin chooser. Locate AI Z-depth, click it, then click OK. The Z-depth UI will open. If you look at the preview, you'll see that the tool has already made a decision about what it thinks is the foreground object. You'll also notice that the text is superimposed onto the foreground object. Now that may be what you want, but in this case I want the text to appear behind the foreground object. This will be corrected shortly. Let's look at the parameters in the interface. The mode parameter consists of two options, normalized values and absolute values. The difference between these two options is how the parameter values are interpreted. I've found that it's better to set this to the normalized values option. The furthest parameter, by default, is set by AI Z-depth. It attempts to determine the object that's furthest away and assigns it a value of 0. In this case, the room interior. The nearest parameter, again by default, is set by AI Z-depth. This is set to a value of 1. In this case, the woman. The depth in and depth out parameters refine the resulting depth map. These are particularly useful when dealing with a moving object. Suffice to say, for still objects, I've found that adjustment of these parameters is best left until the other two parameters have been determined. The invert checkbox allows the masking to be reversed. In other words, if the text is in front of the object instead of behind, click the checkbox. In this case, the text is on the foreground, but not on the background. I want the text to be on the background, so I'll click the checkbox. The Map Finesse option allows further adjustments to the depth map. I've only used one parameter in this section, and that's the feather slider or the auto feather checkbox. This can be used to feather out any rough edges to the depth map. Visualization consists of a drop-down list containing various ways of visualizing the depth map produced by the tool. None is the default option. The type of depth map display created by this option depends upon the state of the invert checkbox. With it unchecked, as it is here, it displays the background in blue and the foreground as normal. With it checked, the foreground is in red and the background is normal. As well as the colorization of the depth map, values for various parts can be obtained by hovering the cursor over these parts. This is the furthest away and, as you can see, has a value of 0. The subject is nearest, so has a value near to 1. Other parts of the map have values in between. Unfortunately, depending upon where the values appear, they're difficult to see. The legend at the bottom right corner simply displays the colours with their values for the various map depths. The display shows that AIZ depth thinks that part of the couch is in the foreground. In this case, it doesn't matter about that because the text isn't placed there. I'll show you what I mean. I'll open up the text event settings and move the text downwards. The text is cut where the foreground and background boundary is. There are two ways of correcting for this. Hovering the mouse over the couch shows values between 0.5 and 0.8. It's 0.6 where the text is, so I'll set the furthest depth value to 0.6. I've effectively told the depth map that part of the couch is further away. Unfortunately, at that value, the furthest part of the depth map is encroaching on the woman's neck. I'll drop the value a little. Okay, so that's a bit better. I have to see now whether the text is okay. There's still a little bit of text cut off, so I'll increase it a little. If that all seems a bit fiddly, you're right. I did it that way to demonstrate the principle of depth map values. This is a far easier way. I can increase the furthest slider steadily until the text reappears. You will have much greater control of the slider if you first make sure that it has focus, then hold Control down while using the cursor key. There's a limit to how far you can adjust the text downwards. Take it too far and it will encroach on the nearest part of the map. Attempting to correct for this with a further slider will bring the text too far forward and won't be behind the woman. Finally, the text at the top of the display informs you that you can identify foreground objects by dragging with the mouse a selection area. The idea is that if the tool doesn't identify foreground objects correctly, you identify those objects by using the mouse to lasso an area that you want to be included in the foreground. To be honest, I've found this to be of little use and can be very confusing. Depth displays a depth map where nearest objects are white and furthest objects are black, with various shades in between. Opacity simply shows the background at 50% opacity. The Clear Cache button is used to delete all keyframes generated when animating the values. I won't be dealing with this in this tutorial. In the resultant composite, you can see that the masking has failed slightly at the bottom of the letter M. To try and deal with this, you can click the Auto Feather checkbox and see if it improves. You can move the text in front of the woman, although that's the normal effect when using a title and text event above a video or image event. However, because the slider values can be keyframed, it's possible to animate the text from back to front. This effect can be enhanced by increasing the scale of the text during the animation. I'll be dealing with this in the next tutorial. So that's the basics of AI Z-depth compositing. In the next tutorial, I'll show how to keyframe the AI Z-depth parameters when dealing with a moving object, and how animation can produce some interesting results. As well as using the tool as a compositor, it can also be used like any other effect applied to a video or image event. Foreground objects can be masked so that various effects can be applied to either the foreground or background. I'll be dealing with this in a further tutorial. Thanks for watching. Until the next time, bye for now.